So with that, let me introduce the individual guest this evening, and I'll turn it over. Sons of Serendip is a musical group of 4 friends who, through a series of serendipitous events, came together in graduate school at Boston University. Micah Christian, a former teacher from Randolph, Massachusetts, is the lead vocalist of the group. Cordaro Rodriguez, a former attorney from Charlotte, North Carolina, is the pianist and guitarist. Kendall Ramseur, a former cello instructor from Charlotte, North Carolina, is the cellist and vocalist. And Mason Morton, who is a former teacher from Atlanta, is the harpist for the quartet. In 2014, they came together to begin what they know will be a long, beautiful journey of creating music that touches people's hearts by competing and becoming finalists on America's Got Talent Season 9. They hope that their music will resonate deeply with listeners and that in some way it will make their lives a little better, even if just for a moment. Now, you may have noticed I said it's 4 people. We have 2 of them, so I'll just introduce Micah and Kendall in detail, and then we can get into the main event. Micah Christian is a native of Randolph, Massachusetts, and became interested in music at an early age. But it wasn't until his senior year of high school, when he earned a solo in the Massachusetts Southeastern District Senior Choir, that he realized his potential as a musician. As a freshman at Stonehill College, he decided to follow his passion for music, and for the next 5 years, he spent his summers performing with the Cape Cod-based a cappella group Hyannis Sound, and his love for music deepened. Alongside Micah's passion for music is his desire to help build a better world. He has volunteered for a year in Honduras and a month in Calcutta, India with Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity. And also in 2013, after graduating from BU with a Master of Divinity, he and his wife volunteered in a rural community in northern Peru for another year. As a member of Sons of Serendip, Micah hopes to inspire others to use their gifts to spread love and build a better world. Kendall Ramseur is a singer-songwriter, composer, and cellist from Charlotte, North Carolina. Kendall's relationship with music began at age 7 when his father purchased an upright piano for the family. While excelling in his piano studies, Kendall found his instrument of choice at age 10. My orchestra leader laid all the instruments on the floor in the classroom and told each student to stand by the instrument of their choice. The cello really sparked something in me. Kendall chose the cello that day, and one of the ways he would express himself chose him. He then went on to receive his bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of North Carolina School of the Arts and Boston University in music performance with a concentration in cello. As a member of Sons of Serendip, his hope is that this quartet will inspire others through their music, creating an experience one will never forget. And I have every expectation that this evening will inspire all of us as well. So with that, I'm going to quit talking and turn it over to Micah. Micah, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. So I'm going to start off by just sharing a clip from the very first audition that we did on America's Got Talent. And from there, I'm going to share more of our story and what our journey has been like. And we'll go into a little bit more details after this.
This is going to change somebody's life.
And it will.
Everything that we've worked for, everything that we've worked on, culminates today.
So that brings back some really great memories. But that was actually our first performance together as a group in front of a real audience, and it's a moment that that we do cherish. But I want to start off before we went into what we're going to be talking about today, just by saying thank you to the Chaplaincy Innovation Lab for having us here tonight, and and for allowing us to share this a moment with you guys. So after that day, we had that day we ended up deciding to continue as a group, and we got further and further into the show. We ended up as finalists on the show, and after the show ended, America's Got Talent season 9. We had a lot of important questions that we were wrestling with about if we were going to continue as a group. And after, lots of reflection and discussions, we decided to continue. And the journey since then has been incredible, filled with lots of learning, lots of moments where we've connected with audiences from all over the country and other parts of the world as well. And it's really been an experience for us where we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about ourselves. We've learned a lot about the power of music, and we've learned a lot about our calling collectively as a group. And what I'm going to do is just share the 2 points that we're going to be focusing on this evening. One of them is we're going to start off by talking about our experience of being bridge builders through the arts. We are 4 Black men playing a harp, cello, piano, and we've had a lot of experiences, especially over the last couple of years, of performing for rural communities. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But then also, we're going to be talking about the power of music for healing. And Kendall's going to be sharing about his experience, and we'll dive deeper into that together. So here we go. So over the last 6 years, we've been on this incredible journey that has brought us to some very special stages all over the country. And I'd say over the last couple of years in particular, we have been spending a lot of time performing in rural communities. We've had, I think, around 100 concerts in rural communities over the last 2 years. And we've been traveling into the heart of the Midwest, into the Deep South, and these concerts are for subscription-based audiences. And so many of the concert goers are unfamiliar with us before they attend the concert. And our experience of doing these kinds of tours has been eye-opening, heart-expanding, and rich with meaningful and beautifully complex encounters with people whose life experiences are very different from our own. While touring, we've had a number, and I mean a number of awkward but grace-filled encounters with well-intentioned people who clearly, by the questions and the language that was used by some of them, had not had meaningful interactions with Black people before. And in some of the communities that we performed in, we've also seen a number of Confederate flags hanging proudly from vehicles and porches. And we've also had a number of uncomfortable encounters with people who were either not so well-intentioned or just clueless. I'll give you an example of a story. There was one time after a concert where an older gentleman came up to us, and he said, this concert really meant a lot to me. It's really special to see coloreds doing some really good work in the world. And he's like, all I know about coloreds is what I see on TV, particularly on Fox News, and the shootings that happened in Chicago. And so that's really all I know. But can I have a hug? And so we've had moments like that where it's like, it's mixed with complexity, and we've approached those moments with grace and compassion. But we've also had other moments where there have been references to the KKK, or someone has used the word nigger around us, and someone referred to lynching at one point. And so we've had those kind of moments that have really shaken us up as well. But what has been incredibly surprising about our journey, however, is that is how deeply a lot of these audiences that we've performed for have resonated with the concerts. We've experienced lots of hugs and tears and lots of laughs together. And it's been a very beautiful experience, but sometimes a lot to process. What we try to do is create an experience for the audience where we create a space for connection. We go into the audience oftentimes in our shows. This is pre-COVID, but we go into the audience for our shows, and we would talk to people. We would thank them for being there. We would offer hugs for folks who needed it, and I think that what we tried to do was create a space that was loving and welcoming and grace-filled. And this experience has led us to a deeper reflection about our role as artists for building bridges between communities and peoples in the midst of a divisive social climate. This is something that we're still working through. So any feedback or thoughts for us or encouragement is completely welcome. Nonetheless, we're working on finding ways to turn our experiences into something that we feel like we can add to the conversation, the greater conversation about bridge building across political and cultural lines. And just from being out in these communities for months at a time, we've grown to understand and even feel a deeper compassion towards folks who in the past we may have intentionally or unintentionally dismissed or judged. And one question that has emerged from this experience is, how do we learn to better communicate across political and cultural lines when we're faced with genuine ignorance? And I mean, genuine ignorance is a real thing. We're talking about kind-hearted, well-intentioned people who simply don't know, which includes us. There were lots of things that we learned just from being in rural communities, in communities that are very different than the communities that we grew up in. And these interactions seem to require a more expansive set of communication skills, which I don't know if we cultivate in the broader society. Further, human beings, another thing that has come up through this is that human beings are incredibly complicated, and therefore engaging one another across political and cultural lines, especially in times of genuine ignorance, seems to require patience, a deep humility, and an openness to being changed. It also seems to require a willingness to notice and engage the nuances of our values and perspectives, and a willingness to listen for intentions rather than reacting to specific language. And some more insights that we've picked up as well is, we live in a time when many people are simply engaging one another as concepts rather than as human beings with complicated stories and influences. And it's difficult to dismiss a human being when you've listened to their story. And one last insight that we've gained is that simple friendship is an essential ingredient for a change in perspective, because friendship fosters empathy. And therefore, cross-cultural friendship seems to be an essential ingredient for lasting and healthy social change. And without spaces for genuine human connection across social barriers, I wonder about the possibility of creating lasting and healthy social change. And I think that that's one of the things that we have really focused in on with our concerts, is creating that space where we can make genuine connections with people across all different kinds of cultural and political barriers. So yeah, so I'll stop there.
Awesome, awesome. Beautifully said, Micah.
Thank you, Kenda.
Absolutely. So what I'll do before I enter into the healing power of music, I thought I would share a brief piece from solo cello piece that I wrote. Hope you guys enjoy it. You guys can hear okay? Okay. All right. So the healing power of music is, I guess, what I'll be sharing about today. So as Michael stated before, I started out in music at a young age 7, and picked up the cello at age 10. And, I felt like the cello really spoke to me. It had similar qualities to the timbres of the human voice. So yeah, in that particular year, whenever I picked up the cello, I had the opportunity to hear Yo-Yo Ma perform, and I fell more in love with the instrument. But what I didn't know then was that the cello, that music, would be a tool in which I would use to help to bring comfort and healing and encouragement to others, but also to myself. So I guess I'll start out with when I became aware of the healing power of music. As a kid, I was somewhat of an anxious kid, a little fearful. And I remember, just kind of going through these little anxiety spells and, really struggling with it and not being able to really articulate what was going on deep within. So, I would pick up the cello, I would go into the living room, and I would practice. I would practice for a few hours until my parents yelled at me and told me that I needed to stop practicing, and then I would get off and go about my day. I would go to school the next day. Same situation, dealing with kids in school, the classes. Would come home feeling super anxious, a little fearful. I would come home and play. What I didn't realize was that each moment that I would come and I would go into the front room, pick up the cello and play, that even though I would go in a little foggy, a little cloudy mentally, a little anxious, after those practice sessions, all of that anxiety and all that fear would be gone. And so, years would go by and I don't think I really recognized what was happening until I enrolled in college and in graduate school. So I was in this program. They're teaching you how to affect the audience in positive ways, right? They're teaching you how to technically perform in a way that, you will be able to endure through this hour-long concerto, right? While not harming yourself. They're teaching you musically how to connect these notes and these phrases so that people don't fall asleep. And then they're teaching showmanship, right? So that you're able just to keep the energy up, right? So there's all of this energy that's just going towards, making sure that the audience has this well-rounded experience, but they would leave out the part of, also making sure that you're open enough to receive the healing, the encouragement that will come from your music that the audience is receiving, right? And so I remember just going to performing in the show, and it was one of those moments where actually it was with the Sons of Serendip. There was a improvisation that we did, and it was so beautiful to see how each member of the group was present. We were inspired by the beautiful hall that we were in. It was in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and we sat there and we just poured it out. And I remember in that moment just feeling this synergy, this overwhelming peace, this wave, as if, we're all on this journey together. We don't quite know where we're going, but we're on this journey together, and it's beautiful. And, as we're performing and we're kind of traveling together musically, all of that anxiety, all of that fear, all of the problems of yesterday and today were no more. And, of course, as I said, this was with Sons of Serendip, but I had those types of experiences before in music, earlier on in college and graduate school. And I realized that, wow, whenever budgets are cut in schools, music's the first thing to go. Why is that? Anxiety is real. Anxiety can be debilitating. I've experienced that. Fear is real. But whenever you can have music, right, that can help to breathe life into those areas and comfort and strength, just think the world would look so much different if, there was more focus there. There's high focus on math and sciences, right? Why is music not up there at the top? Especially when it offers that type of healing. As we transition into the Sons of Serendip, and there was that recognition and that awareness of, whoa, like music can can bring comfort. It can bring encouragement. Whenever I'm out here on this stage, it's just not for them. That's awesome. That's amazing. But it's also for me. Like this is a wholesome group experience of beauty, of healing. There's something that happens when there's awareness on both ends of that. Yes, I'm pouring out, and I'm hoping that you receive, but what I'm pouring out, I'm hoping that I also receive, right? I hope that makes sense. And so when the group took off, and, I'm just so humbled to be a part of the group, we started receiving emails from folks all around the world, sharing their stories, their testimonies of how the music brought physical healing, emotional healing, and I remember earlier on hearing that and just being like, man, I wonder what is it that they're experiencing. It's like sometimes when you're just in it, you can miss it, and if you're not consciously aware, you miss it. And so we would get these emails, and I remember we received an email of someone that was going through chemotherapy, for cancer treatment. And, they were saying that I was using your music to help me get through that. Or, someone's a family member was in transition from this world, but that our music was used to help in that transition. And, it whenever we receive those emails, it's just like, whoa, like, thank God, to be able to be in a group like this where everyone's on one accord. Our mission is to bring and desire is to bring healing, encouragement, and inspiration through music. And it's like to be used in that way. It's just incredibly humbling. And so I've learned so much from the group, and I've truly become a believer in the power of music through this group. And I'm just so happy to be here and to be able to just share that with you guys, and hope that it offers some inspiration and some encouragement. I want to encourage each of you. The talents and the gifts that you have. I've heard some of the works that you guys have been doing in the community and in these hospitals, and Micah and I and the rest, we think it's absolutely amazing. And I want to even challenge you that if there's gifts and talents that you might have put on the back burner because, hey, I'm not as good as this person or that person, I encourage you to dust those gifts off and use them. Micah reminded me of a situation, of a story today of a lady. We were in Nantucket, and we performed, and it definitely was not our best performance. It was rough. But the beautiful thing was, apparently this lady wrote back to us after the concert and said that she was actually contemplating taking her life. But the concert, after attending that concert, it helped to turn things around for her. That wasn't our best concert. That wasn't our best performance. So whenever again, and I'm just encouraging those gifts and those talents that you have in whatever, state they're in, use them, because something special happens when you use those things that God has given you. He puts his hand of grace on those things. And it's as if it's like multiplied. The impact is multiplied, and the fruits. There's so many more fruits that I guess are manifested whenever he puts his hands on them than what we would have been able to do in our own natural senses. And I hope that makes sense. But I think that's all I have. But yeah, Mike, I don't know if you want to add to that. It's so many stories,
Yeah. So I think what we can do is we can share, because there is one story that I do share at the end of our concerts, and it's a way to help people just to reflect on their own lives. And so we can actually, Kenda, you want to go into that? We can play some like cello and I sang over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then I'll share the story and then we'll go into a Q&A. Back in college, I read a poem that had a profound impact on my life. This poem was by a poet named Linda Ellis. And in this poem, Linda asked the question, what is the most important item on a tombstone? To answer that, many of us would say that it is the name or the message or the date of birth or the date of passing. But in this poem, she says it's none of those things, but it's that little dash between the date of birth and the date of passing. This little dash encompasses so much. Love shared, memories made, moments of pain and lasting peace. Moments of tears and lasting joy. Moments of weakness and lasting strength. And it represents all the people that have helped to mold and develop us into who we are and who we ultimately become. And it represents all the people that we've had an impact on along the way during our everyday journey. This dash, this little dash represents life. Life. A mentor of mine was told that he had a short time to live by doctors. And I asked him, how has that impacted the way that you experience and live out your dash? And he said this. He said, Micah, I am more present now than I've ever been all of my life. Now, when I laugh, I laugh. When I cry, I cry. And when I hug, I hug. And when I say I love you, I mean and I feel every word. And when I breathe, and he took a deep breath in, and he said, I breathe. Friends, with all that's going on in the world, it is so easy to lose touch with just how precious this life is. And it's so easy to forget that every moment that we have to share with one another is a gift. It's a gift. So we hope that through this time that we share together tonight, that when we all leave here, that we'll feel a little bit more present, a little bit more alive, and that when we laugh, when you laugh, you'll laugh. When you cry, you'll cry. And when you hug, you will hug and feel that embrace. And when you say, I love you, you will mean and you will feel every word. And when you breathe, you'll breathe. Thank you. And we open it up for any questions you guys might have for us.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that it's almost difficult to transition from that moment that you just brought us into to a conversation to leave, sort of the depths of that and to come into conversation. So thank you. And I know I can't say confidently looking through chat that you have accomplished to some degree what you just set out to do. I think that the people that are with us tonight are feeling this very intensely in a very good way. So thank you for that. Let me remind everyone, we have the Q&A function. We have the chat function. So you can put all of this material in there as it comes to mind. I want to start with one of the most basic questions that came in at the very beginning. How did you come about with the name for the group?
So we wanted a name that resonated with how we felt like we came together. And we were, looking at different words, and serendipity was one of the words that came up. We have a pretty cool story that's on our website at sonsofserendip.com that you can check out if you want. But when we looked up the history of serendipity, we learned that it came from a 12th century Persian tale called The Three Princes of Serendip. And these three princes go on a journey. They make discoveries by accident that benefit their lives. And we felt like that's kind of how we came together. We weren't really looking to become a group. We just kind of fell into it, and it's been an incredible benefit to our lives. So yeah, so we played with the name. It was Three Princes of Serendip. We took Three Princes out and put Sons of Serendip in there instead. So yeah. Wonderful.
You spoke at length, and I think this is so important at the beginning, that what you do when you are traveling and you're with so many different communities, you're building bridges, and it's difficult and it's complicated. It doesn't always seem to make sense. That is hard enough when you're in the same room with people. And now for so many musicians, that's not possible. How do you continue that work when you can't be with people?
Oh, yeah. Kenda, you want to take this one?
Yeah. No, it's tough. It's really tough. One of the things that I'm grateful for is technology. We've had the opportunity to participate in a few virtual concerts. We actually have one coming up tomorrow evening, if anyone's interested in joining us. But yeah, that definitely helps. It's different, but it does help. We still do Q&As where we're able to interact with our supporters, and they still share bits and pieces of their stories and how the music is bringing encouragement and inspiration or healing in their lives. So that kind of helps to feed that little part, since we're not able to get back out there on the road quite yet. But yeah, the virtual concerts have been very helpful.
I think very much connected to this, both on the road and now. This is a wonderful question. How do you create space to reflect on those difficult experiences that you've had, both individually as a group? And are there spiritual or self-care practices that have helped you process that? It's great that you're doing the work, but it must be draining. So how do you heal yourself from those experiences?
Wow.
Yeah. So what's been a blessing about being in a group is that we have each other to talk to. And so after concerts, oftentimes we'll get together and we'll just, or, while we're traveling from one place to the next, it's like a 7-hour, 8-hour drive. And we spend that time talking and reflecting on the experience. And one thing that we had told each other was that no matter what we face, that we would always do our best to respond with love and grace and kindness. And so, with that in mind, we kept that kind of mentality going into the concerts and after the concerts, and when we have these awkward moments. And I think that that commitment has helped us a lot. But then also having the space to talk together honestly. And if we need to vent, we vent. And I think so that's helped a lot as well. And so the commitment to love and grace has helped to bring out the best in the situation. So like if things could take a turn down an ugly road, it kind of, it creates a space where whatever the best situation that can come out of this, even if it's awkward, we try to create that atmosphere for that to happen. So, yeah. And then we vent everything else.
No, that's a beautiful question. And, on top of what Mike is saying, I think whenever we do have our breaks, we're able to, hopefully, it's kind of, have that time to rest and really reflect, because it takes some time to work through some of this stuff. It's like, you'll need a good week or two. But, as Micah was saying earlier, there's really some gems in these experiences, regardless of how positive or how negative. But if you don't take the time to really reflect and dig out those gems, you'll miss it. You'll miss it.
And we do spend a lot of time talking about, or in prayer too, together as a group. We pray before all of our concerts, and sometimes if we need a prayer afterwards, we'll pray after too. And that's helped because we know that we have a mission, and focusing on the mission helps a lot as well.
It occurs to me that what you are accomplishing in a lot of these encounters is really radical, in the sense of the word, as getting to the root of some of the things that tear people apart. And it was so striking what you said at the beginning about the gentleman who said, I only ever see folks that look like you on Fox News, but you really changed my mind about all that. I can imagine other people saying, why are you trying to connect with him? This is ignorance, just like you were saying, and that is ignorance that cannot be fixed. What is the point of building that bridge? It seems to me that we have reached a point in history that those moments are just everywhere. That level of division is everywhere. So what do you say to people that say, there's no point in trying to heal that divide? It just won't happen.
So, that is tough. That I think, honestly, it is something that I have to wrestle with. But it's just like, every little thing I think helps. Every little, in those moments, being committed to responding with grace and love, to me, it feels like it's the only thing that, if there is some good that can come, if somebody's mind can change, or if some positive seed can be planted, it'll be through love and grace. And so I think, on the one-to-one level, just as I go through this life, and when I have these encounters, or when we've had these encounters, it really seems like it's the only thing that it's like the only weapon or the tool that I have to use to help move things in a positive direction. And so if that's only a little part that makes a little difference, or even if it's the slightest difference that it makes, it's still worth it. So yeah. And that's what I would say.
No, that's good. If I can sit with you for a second on that, and I think it goes back to, at least for me, it reminds me of, again, the power of music. I know, Micah knows, Cordero knows, Mason knows, what we've felt whenever we're connected and we're flowing together, and there's this beautiful music that's being created. We know how it has affected us. And so we have to just trust that. I saw someone mentioned in the comments about, we just throw out the seeds, and we have to just trust that, God is going to water those seeds at whatever time he sees fit. And, we just hope that, it can begin to change some of the stinking thinking, as I like to call, or this ignorance, but, we just do our job, and that's to share and pour out what we've been given, from that sacred, from that very sensitive, vulnerable place. And we're just trusting that, God will take that. And I mean, for some people, it seems like it's a miracle. It's going to take a miracle, but we're trusting that, that a miracle will take place and begin to just soften some of those hard hearts.
Kendall, I have to admit, I felt almost called out when you mentioned that when you were in the moment with the audience, and it's back and forth, that you were pouring out, but also you hope to receive some of that back. And I realized I'm just a taker in these in these encounters. I'm taking it all in and enjoying it so much, and not even thinking about the fact that the musician needs and deserves something back from this. And I also thought, I hesitate to speak for chaplains because I'm not one of them, but when you said that you're pouring this out and you hope to receive some of it back, that has to be part of spiritual care as well. Because so many of those encounters involve really pouring oneself out. And if it never comes back, then it just ends up being draining. And a true challenge, both in careers and in lives. The group's mutual friend, Shelley Rambo, has this great question here, saying that so many chaplains are providing frontline spiritual care to address human suffering. And that's racial violence, that's COVID, that's everyday life. I was impressed by your stories about healing racial ignorance and trauma. Can you say more about what you think it takes to do this work? And Shelley, I think that means not just as a musician or not just as a chaplain, but for anybody. What do you need inside yourself to do that work?
Wow.
So I think that it requires a lot of patience and humility, and a willingness to listen on a deeper level, to dig into people's stories, to find and now can you ask the question one more time, just so that I make sure I'm understanding?
What does it take to do the work of addressing racial violence, racial aggression, trauma, not just for musicians, not just for chaplains, but anybody?
Right. Yeah. I think it takes it takes a lot of patience and humility and a willingness to listen and to because people need people to journey with them, and especially if they've been through traumatic events. One of the things that we noticed was that after our concert, we would hear stories from people and they would pour their hearts out. Like, and we just met them that night, but sometimes they would talk to us as though we had known them for years, as though we were like really good friends, and share some of the pains and sufferings that they've gone through. And sometimes it's led to us spending time, like Kendall and I have spent time long after the concert's over, just sitting with certain people and praying with them. Wow. And listening to their stories. And I think, and some of these people we stay in touch with even till today. And I think that, so I think that it takes a willingness to sit with people and to really be present with them, and knowing and listening to their stories on a deeper level, and not trying to change them, but just really just give them a space for them to just pour out whatever it is that they're going through. And when it comes to racial trauma, I think that that a lot. I know folks in my circle who are looking for people who are of different backgrounds, but also just people, anyone who will just listen to the stories that they have to share about the things that they've been through, but also the things that they're seeing and how that's affecting their own mental and spiritual and emotional well-being. And so I just really think that it takes lots of patience, humility, and a willingness to sit with people and really, really listen to them on a deep level. So,
Kendall, you mentioned that the Sons of Serendip's music has been used even for people who, as they are dying, this is what they're listening to. And you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago when we were setting this up, and I've thought about it so many times since then. If this is happening to me, what would I want to listen to? And that's such it's such a powerful moment, and this is such a powerful tool to really accompany people. But I'm very confident that is not the only time that your music has been used.
Right, you would hope
for some purpose. What stories have you all heard about your music being implemented, whether it's in the classroom or wherever?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Let's see here. Right, it hasn't all been, I mean, it's humbling, to be able to assist in the whole transition. Let's see. Oh yes, there's this one video that I can't remember if it was the father or the mother, but it's the cutest clip. There's this little baby, and he's just fussing and fussing, and then all of a sudden, I think it's the father turns us on. It was one of our performances when we were on AGT. Turns us on the television set. And the baby instantly stops crying, and she's like, "Oh," and she's like just watching us on the screen. And so that was a moment that was I thought was just the cutest thing and really beautiful. So hey, apparently we're good pacifiers for babies. It's like, and I sorry to ramble here, but I have a 10-month-old here at home, and it actually works. He was having a fit the other day, and we put on some Sons of Serendip. It's calm peace in the home.
Yeah, and Michael, we had teachers reach out, and folks who are sitting at their the bedside of a loved one who is going through an intense situation, and they have used our music to help folks feel a sense of calm. And so, yeah. So it's been used in a number of different ways, and we're just grateful, like when we hear from folks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There is this lovely question here that's going to broaden the conversation a little bit, and I think it's a great place to end. This person says, "Thank you so much for your music and your loving spirit. As we experience the power of the art that you shared with us, could you share poetry, other art, anything that's influencing you right now?"
Ooh. Poetry or art, that's...
Well, I recently heard Maya Angelou's poem. Let me see what the name of it is. I believe it's called Human, hold on. A Human Family. And I would encourage folks to check that poem out. It's just a really beautiful poem about how we are all connected on a very deep level, even with our differences. And so that's one for me, at least.
Oh, that's good. Let me see if I can pull this up here. For me, I've been reflecting on. I've kind of like each morning, each evening, I go over a psalm, and just really like meditating on that. And one that I've been meditating on is Psalm 139. And I break it down. I don't take like a whole psalm at once. I'll take just a few verses just to really make sure I'm getting it. But I've been really meditating on verses 1 through I think it's like 1 through 6. And if it's okay, Michael, can I read?
Of course.
Okay. All right. This is from the NIV. It says, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain." So I've been sitting with that and just understanding, especially during this season, right? There's, golly, I mean, it's like we have the pandemic, then we have the racial pandemic. It's just there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of just internally, I guess, I've really been trying to find something that I can hold on to and that can keep me anchored, and to read that and understand that, like, he knows me inside and out, and I know by him knowing me and perceiving every thought of anxiety and fear of, oh man, we don't have any more live shows, everything's online, our last tour was canceled, so it's just like crazy. But it's like he knows, before the prayer even comes out of my lips of, Lord, I need you to provide for me in this season, he knows. And that has brought a lot of comfort in this season for me. So I'm still working my way through that psalm. It's a super long psalm, but those first few verses have been just very, it's a lot of depth there. So yeah, that's
Wonderful.
Awesome.
I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but I also, of course, will leave you all with the last word if there's anything else you'd like to add before we close out.
No, we just want to say thank you for having us here tonight. Thank you all for your questions. I'm going to be reflecting a little bit more deeply on some of them that you guys asked, even beyond this. So I really appreciate this moment to spend with you guys.
Absolutely. And the comments have just been beautiful. And so thank you all so much for those kind words. Yeah, it's been just humbling, being able to be here with you guys this evening and share. And hopefully we see you guys at the show tomorrow night.
And we do have one more song to share.
Yes.
To leave us out, to close us out? All right, here we go. And this is Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. How's the volume?
Good.
Okay.
Heard there was a secret chord David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. I know this room, I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march. It's cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Micah, Kendall, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been just lovely.
Thank you, Michael, and thank
It's
you
our
for having
pleasure.
us. And
Thank
shout
you.
out to Shelly Rambo. Thank you.
I'll remind everybody one more time, if you came in late, this has been recorded. You can always go back and watch it later. sonsofserendip.com. Go watch their show tomorrow. Watch all their shows. Go to all the shows.
Tomorrow it's going to be on Facebook Live and on YouTube as well. So you can find us at, find out more information at sonsofserendip.com.
Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.